So, what, you channeled me? I mean, we're a part of the story now. It makes sense.
No, it wasn't channeling. It was different. It felt different. I didn't say exactly what you said. I didn't quote you. It was an imitation of your voice, a perfect replication of you.
Prove it then.
Fine. My name is Henrik. My name is Henrik, and no.
Nice.
Hold on.
My name is Henrik, and I am...
God.
I don't... That was me.
That was you.
I didn't like that at all. But that's not good.
I know.
Especially not right now.
I know.
Eddie, I don't think it's just the eye that's looking at you.
No, please don't. Not right now. I am the archivist. That is something that we are perfectly aware of. We know that. Whatever else is happening, I am beholden above anything else, for better or for worse.
Well, clearly, but...
The rest are just side effects. It's just... That's got to stop them.
I'm not sure
It has to!
Okay.
Henrik.
Edwin?
Are you afraid of me?
I'm trying not to be.
Oh.
I want to listen to the end of season 2 together. What episode are you up to?
116, the show must go on, but I really don't think that that's a good idea.
I know you don't like me being around with your psychic empathy thing, but we're past the point of me pretending I don't know what's happening. Not being there will just make me more worried, and not just for you.
Fine. Okay.
And are you still getting those dreams? About the objects on the shelves?
No. No, not anymore.
What?
Do you dream about it now?
So you figured it out then?
That's why you were so angry. I didn't hear it, but you were my first statement. You gave it to me, I gave it to the So I'm asking you again. Do you dream about it now?
Yes.
What am I becoming?
The archivist.
And what does that mean? Please. I am unwell. Something's wrong. I feel hollow. I am too still. But it can't be fixed. Until I record. Until I listen further. John is in a coma, or close enough to one. He can't die by any natural means, I don't think. Not anymore. So, once again, I was right. I've been right. And it hurts. I finished season 3. Favourites were episode 117, Testament, and the scene between John and Tim in episode 114, Cracked Foundations. But more importantly, I re-listened. To everything, to all of it. A desperate attempt to catch the things I've missed, to see with new clarity. I'll start with the smaller details. I've revised the source horror categorizations in the spreadsheet. For example, I called episode 7 the Piper of the End, when quite literally there was a being that said, "I am the war." Obviously, the slaughter. The mistakes mostly come down to interpreting things too literally, which I know. I've had more people quote lightning at me about taking things too literally than I've had been given my own statements. I know I've been oversimplifying. And we know how Elias feels about simple answers. It's helpful to boil it down to one question. What are they truly afraid of? Sometimes deep water is vastness, sometimes it's darkness, sometimes cannibalism is the flesh, sometimes, like Father Edwin Burroughs, it's madness. It's not about what it is, it's about how it scares you. That's also the reason someone always notices the not them. If a replication is truly perfect, if it tricks every person, if it changes every piece of evidence, then there's nothing to actually fear. You can't be afraid of something without noticing something. I tracked the first appearance of every horror too. I don't know. I wanted to see if John acted different after he collected statements from all 14. Bouts of extra exhaustion after being exposed to the entire world. The last one was episode 31, First Hunt. Immediately after that, episode 32. Jane Prentice's statement.
There are weird things out there that are perfectly natural. It's not, though. I know it's not natural. Somehow I feel it. I'm sorry. My academic detachment seems to have fled me. Something in this statement has got to me a bit. I'm going to go lie down.
I still attribute his exhaustion to absorbing such a harrowing statement so closely related to his immediate danger, but it's still not my favourite of coincidences. Another grim coincidence includes episode 27, Sturdy Lock. I've never mentioned it on the broadcast, but I've always been a Beatles fan. You can see the archived spreadsheets of seasons 1 and 2. I've always thought the name Paul Mackenzie was a Beatles reference. Paul McCartney wrote Eleanor Rigby, of whom Father Mackenzie is in the second verse. You know the most famous line of that song? Ah, look at all the lonely people. And it's a statement of the lonely. I hate the implication of working things out based on my own personal interests, or innocuous things that I've already noticed. Because before the archive, some of the others watched. Episode 81, a guest for Mr. Spiter, and 104 sneak preview, Tim and John. When witnessing the first encounters of the monstrous, the horrors, why didn't they run? Could have been frozen in fear, but they should have at least turned away or closed their eyes, but they both just...
I always tell myself there was some force there. Something that held me in place and meant that all I could do was watch. But sometimes when I think back, I remember how my legs shook and maybe I could move. Maybe I'm just a coward.
They wanted to know, and spend the rest of their careers chasing down how to understand. A small correction. Episode 43, Diego Molina was not the one that was boiled alive in the bathtub. It was a mix-up of pronouns in the sentence. The victim was actually Officer John Spencer. Also, good to mention episode 72, Police Lights. We still don't have a clear informant regarding Raina and Callum Brody. How did Section 31 find out? Then episode 106, A Matter of Perspective. Manuela Dominguez of the Daedalus Space Station worked with lasers and was a big name in physics. Considering lasers are light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, I am getting more confident that Manuela will be facing the dark. Robert Montauk. From the way Julia and John talked about him, I think he was a hunter or something close to it that targeted the dark. I think he carved the hearts out of members of the People's Church of the Divine Host, avatars of the dark, and preserved them in jars. If he wasn't an official hunter, then he wasn't someone who could fully kill any of them, so this feels like a really strong way to delay the potential regenerations. The big thing that put a wrench in this theory was when Julia Montauk picked up the phone in episode 10 and spoke to a Detective Rayner. Originally, I thought that this was Maxwell, but Maxwell and Montauk are enemies, so why would they collaborate? What if the detective was a different Rayner? I still remember Joseph Rayner being mentioned in The Piper, so if a relative was teaming up with Robert Montauk to stop the dark, maybe that's something. It could easily also be one of those loose ends that never quite gets tied up, but it's still on my mind. On the subject of fathers, I've been thinking about Eric Delano. As mentioned before, he was a previous archival assistant. He took the statement of episode 85 upon the stair. Mary Key also mentioned him, implying that either Eric is in the ghost skin or relating him to the concept of a plural devotion. Her sentence wasn't perfectly clear, but for this theory, I'm leaning towards the ghost skin, because it made me think of Jerry Key's father.
I never knew my dad. Not really. He worked in the archives like you, but quit once I was born. I think he wanted to help raise me. But Mum didn't need the help, and after me she wasn't able to have kids again, so she killed him in his sleep to practice her bookbinding. I guess she failed. I always thought he was in here, but when I eventually got a hold of it, there wasn't a page in there.
Mary gave Gertrude a skin page at the end of episode 62, first edition. Even if Jerry's father isn't Eric Delano, he still worked in the archive, was put in the book, Mary gave Gertrude a page, then Jerry couldn't find him in the book. I think his page was given to Gertrude. It's probably in her storage unit. You know, at the start of episode 47, A New Door, Helen Richardson was working on a map of the hallways. We saw her again. Episode 115, Taking Stock. After Mikhail Solesa's statement, which, albeit was fascinating but unrelated to her, a distortion of a distortion. Something that went wrong made out of something that went wrong. Now, she doesn't like taking people. Like it's not her nature anymore. She went to talk to John because Helen Richardson felt comfort talking to him, and because John is becoming too. He kicked her out. I think she reminds him too much of it. Brings questions to the forefront of everything he's trying to avoid, all with the face of someone he could not save. Now on to Jared Hopworth. He's obviously of the flesh, not the stranger. My original confusion stemmed from conflating gymnastics with trapeze work and therefore the circus. Did anyone else notice that Jared Hopworth had a pet rat? Sebastian Adekoya saw it. I think it was his first victim. Last time talking about Jared, I talked about the increasing likelihood of losing bones. This was partially fueled by multiple commenters consistently asking me to count my bones, but also since, unfortunately, at this point it'd be pretty ridiculous to introduce such a horrifying figure and not meet them face to face. And you know what I noticed? Ribs were the most mentioned bone out of all Hopworth-related statements, mentioned 4 times, including the only direct quote we have from the Bone Turner's Tale.
And from his rib a flute to play that merry tune of Marrow took.
That is not fair. What I said about floating ribs was not a theory, it was an idea that I do not want to be right. I do not want to meet Jared Hopworth. Please, it was stupid. If this is right, then that means that all I can do is wait and watch until it happens to me, and I can't stop thinking about Gregory Pryor.
I know it's just phantom limb syndrome, but sometimes I swear it feels like my bones still out there, twisting in someone else's arm.
In my previous theories, I originally thought Hopworth was potentially building the choir for the Unknowing, which, funny enough, I thought the same thing about Tom Hahn, who's also of the flesh. That confusion from the stranger occurred with episode 5, Thrown Away. The dollhouse at 93 Lancaster Road, he lives on Clarence Road, the doll's of the stranger, but neither of them had any association. They didn't build the choir. The anglerfish did. Episode 1. I, like John, also thought it ate the insides of what it used as skin, but it doesn't. The bodies were all inside the waxworks. So many people. It's time to talk about it, isn't it? Let's discuss the Unknowing. Gertrude Robinson has a storage unit under the name Jan Kelly, containing countless relics, artifacts, and utilities she's gathered from her time as archivist. We went there in episode 113, Breathing Room, and found her plan. When the Unknowing starts, blow it up. There was also a notebook of names, dates, and locations, which I couldn't help but hear the static underneath. John took it. It's important. It was Tim who ultimately found the location of the ritual, the House of Wax in Great Yarmouth. He also found out why they stopped going after John's skin. They stole the corpses from the graves of Gertrude Robinson and George Icarus, who is actually Jürgen Leitner, two people deeply marked by the horrors, readying their skins to be used for the dance. And then the unknowing commenced. I'm endlessly impressed with Basira's level-headedness. She was able to logic her way through the unknowing, asking the right questions, looking for constants. It was really remarkable. Unfortunately, due to that difference in her demeanour, there's also a deep part of me constantly shouting if she was claimed by another horror, which one would it be? To which I'd say the end, but I'm not saying she's claimed by anything. Honestly, she's already rather attached to knowledge and discovery already. I can't shut off the part of my brain that is waiting for the rug to be ripped out from under me. Daisy Tonner is dead, or the equivalent of it, I suppose. She was definitely a hunter. I vaguely pondered it in my last video, but I was entirely correct. Not only did Basira notice it in the literal next episode, 112, Thrill of the Chase, but Daisy was later conflated with known hunters Trevor and Julia. Her consistent violent tendencies, her missions for Elias, her discomfort being around John at the end. I think she smelled the monstrousness on him. Within the unknowing, she was confronted by Breakin and Hope. So she hunted. Now Hope is dead. Well, I don't know why I immediately thought that it was Hope who was killed. They never confirmed it in the episode itself, but it was confirmed in the transcripts. She killed him, and Breakin threw her into the do-not-open coffin while she laughed and laughed. Honestly, her death ate at me the way Jane Prentice's did. I get skeptical when I don't fully see it myself. Timothy Stoker is dead. John eventually could see well enough within the ritual to send his sight to Tim, giving him enough clarity to fight. Tim got the detonator and he pressed it. Is it weird that I'm more at peace with it than I thought? I think it's because he went on his own terms with his own autonomy. Don't misconstrue me. I don't want him dead. I miss him, but I like that it was his decision. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. While the unknowing commenced, Martin implemented his plan to stop Elias back at the Institute. He started burning statements. He got episodes 8, 35, 103, and 86. We still have the recordings of these statements, so they've not been completely expunged for me. Not that it would be my non-diegetic choice anymore. Do I still count as non-diegetic? Oh God. It's good to know that Martin physically can burn statements, destroy the archive, and certainly got Elias's attention. He came in and used his magic, made Martin know about his mother and father. It was awful, but it was what Martin signed up for. Because while Elias was distracted, Melanie snuck into his office and stole incriminating evidence to send to Section 31, causing Elias's arrest. Never underestimate Martin K. Blackwood. Remember in Volume 4 when I mentioned that there are 2 tapes in John's office during episode 80, with one running when Elias killed Leitner? I was right. Right theory, wrong application. Because it was that tape that they used to arrest him. Unfortunately, Elias did see this coming to an extent, so he implemented Peter Lucas to take up his place as head of the Magnus Institute. I should have seen it coming, but of course I didn't. Peter asking Martin about Elias's management style? I thought it was just spooky upper management being curious. Curiosity comes so naturally to me that I didn't think his had an ulterior motive. While I value Peter's geniality, no, I don't trust him. Especially with the Lucas's other connections, being captain of the Tundra, helping Gertrude, sponsoring the Daedalus space station. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure he and Salesa placed a bet on Vincent Yang in episode 66 held in customs. He just... Too many unknowns around him. In a position of power, it worries me. Melanie worries me too. Her statement, her anger. in episode 117, Testament. It took me a second, but I now realize she's solely been following statements of the slaughter. She's mocked by it. And she takes it out on Elias.
They think they're giving me a chance to face my demons by helping to take down Elias. They don't get that the only way to deal with something like him is to watch his eyes go dead with your hands around his throat. When did I start to lose the parts of me that weren't just anger?
I don't actually know what being an avatar of the slaughter entails. Or if that's even something she's becoming, depending how close she is to the eye, but I know cross-contamination isn't off the list. And could an avatar of the slaughter kill Elias? Because there's also... I can't stop thinking about how adamant she is that destroying the Institute won't kill everyone supernaturally. Maybe it'll kill Elias, and at this point, maybe John too, maybe me too, but if she's becoming attached to the incarnate of violence, I can't help but wonder if she's supernaturally calling Elias's bluff? I mean, probably not. I agree with John. I think that if it can bind them, then it can kill them, but I don't know. I'm throwing it out there because there's another theory. Something I saw that's making me lean more towards how the archive crew might survive destroying the Institute. It's because I see the web. Honestly, what really drew my attention to it is why so many of you adore it. Serve it. In the grand scheme of things, in the statements themselves, it has not been an outward participant. I also struggled to get why spiders and webs are associated with mind control and manipulation. I mean, yes, it had a few interesting statements, a few weird ones, and whatever the hell is happening at Hilltop Road, don't get me started. It irritates me so much because I do not understand it, and I wanted to cover again in this episode because of the new statement, episode 114, Cracked Foundations, but honestly, it did not help, aside from happening 2 months after the burnt offering, but regardless, none of the episodes I know would spark so much devotion, meaning that later plots and culminations would. Or maybe not so later. Do you remember Volume 1 of First Time Listener? I told you my least favourite episode of the batch. I eventually stopped that habit because I didn't like putting that negativity out in the world. Look at where that got me. Episode 16. Arachnophobia.
My eyes flicked wildly around the rest of the garden, and everywhere they came to rest I saw more lurking spiders, more webs. There were dozens that I could see, which meant there must be hundreds more I could not.
I already pointed out that Carlos Vittori, Jane Prentice, and Harriet Lee all live within a 10-minute walk of one another, and Carlos's building was infested with worms. And Carlos's body prompted Martin Blackwood to investigate.
I knew there was something not right about the whole thing from the off. I said it probably wasn't natural, him dying and being encased in web when he was found, and I stand by that, though it wasn't anything to do with spiders that ended up after me.
Carlos drew Prentice to Martin, and Martin drew Prentice to the archives where she festered in the walls until she was ready to attack. But they found her too early. The hive wasn't ready. So what prompted them to find her?
It has been something of a... I see. Ah. Oh, whoa! A spider.
A spider?
Yeah, I tried to kill it, the shelf collapsed.
They stopped the hive because John knocked over a shelf attempting to hit a spider. So what else have the spiders paved a path towards? Giving John the spiderweb Zippo in episode 36, which he still uses and still has on him. Daisy was sectioned due to spider husks, although that could just be a coincidence. Don't know why the web would want to kill Hope. Then, most obviously, John's first encounter with the horrors. A guest for Mr. Spider. I noticed the gas main. I already noticed the gas main. I had always noticed the gas main. Episode 68, Tales of a Field Hospital. I said something stupid in Volume 4, like, Chekhov must be having a field day. Well, I missed what was said right before.
There were a couple of spiders, so I changed routes and found, I think it's a gas main. Must be for the whole building.
Give John a lighter and show him the gas main to the Institute. I think the web is trying to stop the Watcher's crown. I mean, Jerry said Gertrude knew how to stop it. I know she knew how to stop it. She tried blowing it up, but aside from that, I don't know how else. And honestly, I'm horrified that the more we slip into the role of archivist, the more we went, what? I see you. I see the web now. Even if I've missed parts of it, I caught them in the House of Wax too, so they're lurking, watching since the very beginning. But I see you. It sounds like season 4 is going to be about the Watcher's crown. And if they stop it, if they destroy the Institute, then that leads a path to the web. It's what it wants. I don't... God, and I said in the last episode that I hope the eye is tackled in season 4 so we'd get to see the epilogue, the aftermath, but I did not expect evidence towards that. That was an opinion. It was just another opinion. It's what I thought would be interesting for the story once again, and I say it again and again. That was not a theory. I just can't escape this terrible feeling. Episode 110. Creature feature.
No one fought against the monster, and although there were vignettes in the lives of those under the spider's shadow, they all ended the exact same way, with the character in question marching slowly and calmly into his waiting jaws.
I don't want to think about endings. Finales, how it could all end, and how it could end with a march to Hilltop Road, which, of course, is the one place that I completely do not understand. No, I'm not. That's actually wrong. That will be very, very wrong. And I will be relieved. It's all just happening too fast. They're all happening too fast, and I know why. I noticed it. Because of course I did. Adelard Decker told us, hinted at it.
I was pursuing my researches into the new emergence I mentioned earlier. I know you are dismissive of the possibility, but if I'm right, the sudden urgency of these immediate dangers you are so focused on could very well be a direct result.
Adelard Decker was looking into the emergence of a new fear, and I'm getting this out of the way. Yes, I technically thought there were 15 horrors when first pondering them, but I was wrong. I misconstrued Smirk's tunnels in old passages because there were 14 paths and the tunnels were of the spiral. That's not a theory, that's not being right, that is just being wrong. You don't get points for the right answer and the wrong equation. And you know what? What's the point of theorizing things here if I can just know them? It's not a theory if I just know it, so why watch? What's the intrigue? The fact that I can't tell the difference? That I'm trapped in the wrong side of this dramatic irony? The emergence of a new horror would be the reason so many rituals are being attempted so closely together. And the next ritual, based on Nikola and Sarah's comments tied with other foreshadowing, will likely be the Watcher's crown. I've been trying to track Jonah Magnus, looking through his personal letters and collection. Episode 23 Schwarzwald, 50 Foundations, 58 Trail Rations, and 92 Nothing Beside Remains. No new information yet. That should make me less confident in my theory from last time, shouldn't it? So why doesn't it faze me? I don't have more evidence towards Elias being Jonah Magnus. It just feels right. Ever since the idea first popped into my head, I never even doubted it, even before finding the very, very little evidence I currently have to back it up. So it shouldn't... No, it's probably my subconscious just looking towards how things have been foreshadowed in the past and then applying it accordingly. It feels perfect for the story. If Elias is Jonah Magnus, wouldn't Jonah be the first archivist? Because John and Elias's powers feel very different. I mean, sure, if Elias is 200 years old, that'll definitely impact the potency of his abilities, but also I can't help but feel like the archivist is something else. It doesn't make sense why you need an exact replica of yourself, so I started tracking John and Elias's powers to see their differences, to see any clear through lines. And I started to track my own. John's abilities include conscious and subconscious compelling, occasional knowing, universal translation, subconsciously sensing people are marked, and one more. John also now feels physical pain when destroying sources of knowledge, as seen by episode 117, Testament, when he finally destroyed Jerry's page. Ow. He's got the gas main and the lighter, but the eye would not let him destroy that archive. At least, it would really, really hurt. John's starting to see. He was able to tell when Helen Richardson's door appeared in his office, episode 115, and he was able to eventually see through the unknowing and extend his sight to Tim.
I see you.
Do you now?
Yes, I see the sad clown, bitter and hateful. I see him finding his way to a circus where nobody knew him. I see him torn apart, becoming the mask remade by a cruel ringmaster. Sometimes a doll, sometimes a mannequin, always hiding in somebody else's skin, somebody else's name.
Grimaldi died destitute and alone. I researched it for last time. It must have been when he met Gregor. Onto Elias. Sight with effort, pulling statements out of people and implanting knowledge into other people's minds even when it's falsified. Elias's pulling of statements feels a bit similar to how John saw Grimaldi within Nikola, but I just need more clarity. It doesn't feel right yet. It doesn't feel exactly the same. Then me. What I started with before the archive, channeling stories and precognition, then after, compelling and knowing, obviously. Also, universal translation. Henrik pointed out that apparently Elias was talking in French last time and I did not notice. I have yet to sense anyone that's been marked. Then, psychic empathy, mostly with John, but honestly the statements do not feel that great either, so I'm really thinking it's some sort of extension of archivist powers. Then there's the distortions and the channeling, and when I get too emotional, and the new one, mimicry, which it's not lost on me that channeling literally throws me into someone else's skin. Imitation whilst embodying memories and stories. It mixes the watercolours a bit, I'm aware. And there's one more similarity between John and I. Another power. I've never been more afraid. Episode 120. Elias never even said a single name, but at the very first sentence, at the single word, hearts, I knew. Because my first thought? Dr. Elliot wasn't the first, it was Naomi Hearn, because I had been tracking statement makers since the start. So I knew every single one. I can't help but imagine the average viewer might not have recognized every moment, maybe didn't gather what was going on immediately, but the very structure of the episode eats at what you know. The more names you place, the more statements you remember, the more details you catch, the more horrifying it is. And I knew it all. So I think you can imagine the additional dread upon realizing that I had been having the same dreams about your statements before I even knew it was happening, John. When an archivist takes a statement directly, they mark the giver. Plague them with endless dreams of their deepest fears, and when the archivist finally rests, they are placed there to ceaselessly watch. There are some dreams John cannot access anymore, when people are dead or equivalent, Michael and Daisy, or when they join the Institute, like Basira, Melanie, and Martin. There's also Jude Parry, who figured out how to get out of them, and I don't know how, but I desperately wish I did, because John is stuck in that cycle of dreams. I tried to find some sort of solution. I made a list of every time dreams were mentioned for every statement maker, but between the archivist's dreams and the things that could just easily be nightmares, it wasn't helpful. It didn't lead me anywhere. Because honestly, whenever I think of dreams, I think of Antonio Blake. Oh. The dreamer. That's it. That's it, isn't it? Antonio Blake, episode 11, the dreamer, the one who dreams about links and death and the end. Can Oliver save John? I don't know how, but maybe he can see John trapped. He would want to help. He was kind. He saw Jane. He went to the Institute to tell them about Gertrude. That's it, isn't it? Because it feels... You know, he's been one of my favourite statement makers since the beginning. Again, my own opinions being used against me. If I'm right, it's practically using me as foreshadowing itself. Never being able to escape, even in sleep. To forever watch and be watched. To look. Never have I been more afraid.
And at last, the archivist looks up. At last he looks into the eye that sees all and knows all and clutches at the secret terrors of your heart. The ceaseless watcher of all that is and all that was. The voracious, infinite hunger that tears at his soul, invoking him to discover, to observe, to experience all and everything and forever. It stares into him, and it stares out of him, and he is falling into the devouring eternity of its pupil. He wants to cry out in horror, but he cannot. He is whole. You're doing well, John. I only hope you can continue your growth without my guidance.
Percy was my first statement. Sure, I was unconscious, but I still took it. I thought it was just a nightmare, vivid, sure, and I ignored how different it felt. But now there's so many more. I almost envy John. He collected his in the span of 2 years. I think I have more than him in less than 2 months. I just don't understand why. Because some of you knew. You knew what would happen if you gave me your statement, but you did it anyway. Now you can never rest. Now we can never rest. Why would you do that to yourselves? Of course, the terrible answer is that I am making you. That you can't help it. That it's in my nature. That my broadcast has adapted to peel your stories out of you. An extension of myself forcing its way into your heads to watch my record. I think I found something called the record. John constantly feels the compulsion to record. I could pull every quote we have on it. I did pull every quote we have on it, but it's a waste of time because we already know. Hell, at the end of season 1, John almost died grabbing a tape recorder when the Hive attacked. We know recording is different from reading the statements. Always has been. Something else watches. It makes the watching stronger. And Elias is too adamant about it. So I know it means something. And he said the smallest thing in season 1.
You did bring a tape recorder. I just thought John would appreciate as many supplementary recordings as possible for the record.
For the record. Can't help but notice this show has quite the tendency to add supernatural meanings onto normal day-to-day words. So whatever the supernatural purpose of this recording is, I'm calling it the record. I've tried to find specifics, but all I got was a good point John made to Tim in episode 114.
I disagree. This whole place is a temple to the eye, Tim. I don't think the tape recorders make any difference.
So that leaves the questions: who feels compelled to record? When do the tapes turn on by themselves? And what are they recording? They turn on by themselves in regards to events directly associated with members of the Institute. John feels the compulsion to record, so do I, and so does Martin. You know, Martin was the first one to mention a need to record after his encounter with Prentice. What is Martin turning into? His difficulties feeling the statements, I already caught that, but he knew Peter.
Please, Martin, I'm not going to hurt you. I just thought we might have a chat. Alone.
Oh, you're one of them, aren't you? A Lucas?
Yes, that's... Peter, pleased to meet you. Now, how did you know that?
Did you know that Martin's been working at the Institute longer than John has? He was there when Trevor made a statement in 2010, making it maybe 7 years, 2017. John's been working there for 5. He joined in 2012. No, Martin's not exactly the same as John, but I mean, he listens a lot. He's a very observant and empathetic person. Maybe he's a different kind of archivist. More people-oriented. I'm not certain if this makes him the next best thing to an archivist or something else entirely, but still, I'm watching out for him. Someone's got to. So, the record. I think it keeps the archivist's journey. I think what's listening is something associated with the Watcher's Crown, tracking the growth of the archivist for the ritual. This would also explain why Gertrude didn't record as frequently as John. She didn't even bring a cassette player while travelling with Jerry to stop the Unknowing, so if she recorded less than John and she's a worse archivist and John records more and is a good archivist, then I think it's related. Maybe the Eye realised Gertrude wouldn't do for the Watcher's Crown. Maybe at a certain point she stopped becoming, or maybe she stopped it herself. When Gertrude died on May 15th, 2015, there were screams from Hither Green Dissenters Chapel. If she aligned herself with the dark, with the People's Church of the Divine Host, would that stagnate the Eye and its ritual? Because the Library of Alexandria, it was attacked by a cult of the dark.
There's even one unnamed contemporary historian that describes the mob attacking the Serapeum not as Christians, but using a phrase which roughly translates as those who sing the night.
I do wonder if that contemporary historian was Christopher Meyer, episode 60, Observer Effect. Elias was able to kill her without being a hunter, so it is possible. She killed Daniel Rawlings, and she's not, she does act a bit like a hunter. I suppose it's hard to build an archivist, so maybe Elias was delaying it until she either got too close to destroying his plans, or until he found an extremely suitable replacement. John once referenced the archivist as being
the focal point of horrors.
The Eye. It looks across stories of all of them, of all the horrors. I honestly don't think I have the stomach to consider that right now. My record isn't just a record. It's a broadcast, pulling you in with curiosity and theories and string, like flies caught in. Some of you even dream about it, dreamt of new episodes and theories the night before they appeared. I know. Maybe the broadcast is collecting your fear. New viewers, you're scared of getting roped into a story you did not want to be a part of. But old ones, those who know how it ends, those of you that serve, I think I scare you. I scare you with how much I see, with how much I know, and what I am bringing with me. And yet, how I cannot stop what I am marching towards. And all you can do is watch me know and learn and become. And all of those who are truly not afraid want me to emerge. What am I becoming? A lot of you find me similar to Michael, but there's a difference there. He was thrust towards the spiral in one swift motion, but John and I, we're frogs in heating water. And how do you know if it's not already boiling you? What is the moment of becoming if it's something you've always been moving towards? Will there be a singular moment for me, or am I it already? there's a significant portion of you saying that I might... that I will be a better archivist than John. And I used to take that with a smug pride, but now it makes me feel sick. Because I'm coming along well, aren't I? At what point does ignorance become malice? What choice do you have when these things pick you based on your very own nature? How can I even stop it? How can I make the choice not to become if I do not know if I already am? How do I not cause harm if every choice that I have made has unwittingly pushed me towards it? It's the man who wasn't there.
I don't want to take you up the spiral staircase, so you should try to leave. I don't want to, but it's my nature now. And you can't fight what you are. Or even what you aren't. As I was going up the stair, I was a man who wasn't there. I wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish I'd go away.
But what if it was my nature all along? If I plunge you into your worst memories, if I steal your rest, your reprieve, if I sit here and eat your fear, why am I a better person if I feel bad doing it? Why would guilt exonerate me if it will not stop me from doing it again? Because John and I have not been removed of ourselves. Henrik has said it over and over and over again. I am still me. That was supposed to be a comfort. But maybe that's the worst part. At least becoming a monster sculpts you into something else. But what then when it doesn't actually change any part of who you are? When it feeds on what you already crave? When you and it have always craved the exact same thing? Because if it's what I do, and if it's what I have always done, then maybe I've been a monster the whole time. Because my biggest fear right now is... No. I know I don't want to hurt people. I know I don't want to cause harm. I never have. And I know that I do not want to end the world. So... stop. Yes. So stop watching this. Stop watching the broadcast. Sever your connection, please. Go somewhere else. I don't know if you still can. Go anywhere else. Don't give me your statements. Don't pull yourselves further than I already have. I don't want to hurt anyone. So stop watching me and stop making me want. How do I stop it if it sees out of me? What have I done? No. Please, no.
Have you ever noticed that the eye doesn't sing?
Astrid.
The end, the dark, the corruption, the stranger, the web, the flesh, and the slaughter, they're the half with the songs. I just think it's odd that you compose music for your broadcasts when your patron doesn't have anything to do with music.
Astrid.
I mean, you don't actually sing, though. Well, only when you think no one is listening. I used to hear you through the wall. Yes?
What did you do?
I listened. I watched.
No.
Ed, look.
Why would you do that?
You wouldn't tell me what was going on, and Henrik wasn't any help either.
Did he tell you to?
No, don't be ridiculous. He told me to stay away.
Dan, you should have listened!
While watching you two wither away? Do you even hear yourself right now?
You don't know what it will do to you.
Actually, I do know. I know now. But, unlike some of us, I don't need to know every minute detail of everything to know that I needed to help my friends.
Astrid, you don't even... You can't... I can hurt you now! I'm an avatar,
Don't try that with me. I listened to your broadcast. You pull people's stories out of them and can make them spill their secrets. So take my secrets. I don't care. You probably already know most of them. Sure, there's some truly awful sides to it, but you're doing what you can with the situation.
You're putting it too lightly. I think I can destroy the world.
And I don't think that's going to happen.
Astrid, I am the Archivist!
And I'm not afraid of the Archivist.
You should be!
I'm not afraid of you.
You should be.
Well, it's too late now. Leave me to my own devices and I'll probably get claimed by another horror. This podcast scares the heck out of me. I don't even like listening to it. So, gain another assistant or gain another creature.
You know, I don't think we're going to survive this.
I caught on to that faster than you did.
And there's nothing I can do to make you run?
Not unless you're alongside me. But you won't. Tim's right. It's instinct now. You can't help yourself. Not anymore.
Do you think
Ed, are you... Oh.
My head.
You're sensing something. Can you tell what it is?
I can't... What? I can't... No, I can't see.
It's still going? That's not... It's not supposed to...
Astrid, static. I can't hear you.
Shoot. I'll call Henrik.
What are you?
Finally. Wasn't sure it was going to take. Hello, Dreamwalker.
Oh, no.
Oh, the last batch did a number on you, didn't it? Your heart's not beating.
What?
I really should have intervened sooner. How odd. More obvious in the sinuses than you'd expect, strangely. I'd say you're only breathing because of your constant conversation with this broadcast of yours. If it helps, this is just as unpleasant for me as it is for you.
I don't... Hobbes! What?
Come now, Dreamwalker. The what is obvious. Surely you can do better than that.
How?
Oh, now that is not a sensation I care for. You're going to hate this one. You did it to yourself. You dreamed of my shop and shared those visions for all the world to see.
The dreams? With the objects?
It was practically an invitation, really, and I'd be a fool to turn it down. I'd like to think I would have thought of it myself, given time, but you showed me the exact tools I needed for a ceremony of possession. An anchor, a guide, a binding, a link, and a door. And you're a very receptive host. You've got some excellent fractures in here with that channeling of yours.
Why?
Because, in spite of your newfound self-acceptance, you're becoming something more dangerous than just another archivist. Someone has to save you from yourself. Probably saving all of us, really.
But I claimed myself as archivist after I had your dreams.
Yes, precognitive abilities are frustrating like that. Good job. Do you enjoy bringing terror to those around you?
Stop it. Your shop, You're called something else. Are you the curator?
Yes. It's a better name for me than Hobbes, if you really want to be polite. Let's try again. Did you just know that name?
No, it was a statement from last time. Your shop and that ticking clock.
And you miraculously worked out that connection back to me? How plausible.
So who gave you that name? Who do you serve?
It might surprise you to know that most of us don't have our roles chosen and named by a throng of clamoring watchers. I chose it myself, and I serve everyone. I maintain and feed a collection of artifacts to keep the fears balanced, in check. If they're all too busy fighting each other, I don't expect any of their rituals to succeed.
Balance and fear, then. But you were egging me on. The whole time, you were calling me the Dreamwalker. You were pushing me towards becoming.
Because self-determination is important to me. And you were very clearly going to become either an avatar or a corpse. I tried to help you. My turn. Which fear scares you the most?
Why would I tell you that?
Because it would be rude not to. And we have such a pleasant rapport, obviously. Though I suppose it was a silly question. It shines through in your very being, even when I'm not sharing your body. You fear the eye just as much as you're drawn to it. Maybe more.
Well, I made my choice. Like you told me to. And I can't take it back.
What if you could? Would you?
Yes! In a heartbeat!
It's a shame your heart isn't beating then. You know, I genuinely wish you weren't lying.
I'm not!
I am your archivist! Denial doesn't suit you, Dreamwalker.
So why are you so furious to see me choose?
Because...
I chose to be the archivist. I became an avatar like you wanted!
Because...
So why are you here?
Because I'm scared, Edwin, of you! And I need to borrow something of yours. It is possible to make the wrong choice, Dreamwalker, and you did. You became something that pulls too closely to the rituals. Then you ignored me. So here I am. Do you think you were truly human before the story marked you?
I don't cope well with being ignored then. The lonely strike too close to home.
There's only ever been one defense against the lonely, and it's something I've always been particularly bad at. That vulnerability scares me, and damn you for making me admit it on camera. Funny you'd say that, though. How's your sister doing?
She can't reach. How are you planning to stop me?
I aim to course correct. It's not too late for you to choose better. And dreams don't just belong to the beholding. Which of your friends would it hurt the least to lose?
Percy, because he's the most likely to kill me. No, wait. How did you...
There it is. I think I've got the trick of it now. Thank you so much for demonstrating. Do you think you were truly human before this?
I think I wasn't human enough for the rest of it to be carved out. Stop that. You can't use that. That's mine! Ugh.
You know, a human might find this portion less violating than the actual possession. Sort out your priorities, and be happy I don't want you dead. Now, tell me, what's your greatest fear?
Wanting to wear the Watcher's crown.
In that case, you're welcome. Now I suggest you turn off that camera of yours. Neither of us want your broadcast to hear this next part. Where are you, Dreamwalker? What is your exact home address?